This is For Honor, another top-heavy release from Ubisoft in 2017 after I've already covered the beta, or the closed beta, of Ghost Recon, and now we're looking at For Honor again in the open beta, this time across PC, Xbox One S, PS4, and of course the Pro.
Boost mode not included.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you won't see any boost mode here. Every title that launches with a Pro patch, or actually has a Pro patch built into the game, therefore boost mode won't work. So we're looking at a game that across all versions has varying levels of visual quality and performance. So on the Xbox One, we're looking at a dynamic resolution, which means we get some varying counts in play, right down from the lowest point I've counted, which is 1493 by 840, right up to a native 1920 by 1080. In between that, I'm seeing counts of 1680 by 945 and 760 by 990, which leaves a slightly softer image on the Xbox One, but it does look to be using a TAA solution that's HRAA, and again, this is probably missing on the PC. It does look ever so slightly softer on the same settings. So in terms of settings across all consoles, they appear to be the same on the Pro, the PS4 and the Xbox One. That means on the max settings it's slightly higher on PC. You can see in the distance that low draws in hardly any distance objects, but you get grass on medium, and again on high you get a few more bits of grass in detail at the foreground. Consoles look to be between the extreme and high. On top of this, you can also have the extra geometric detail on PC, which basically draws more triangles on the rounded objects you can see here in the distance on the temple. Other than that, it's pretty much the max settings on console, which means you also get HBAO on both consoles. You can go higher on PC. It is using the Anvil Next engine that I've already covered for games like Ghost Recon and obviously Assassin's Creed, and this game borrows heavily from Assassin's Creed in terms of the structure, the animation system and the physics. The game does use animation specifically beautifully in this game. I'm very impressed with the idle animations, the combat animations, defense blocking, all the physics animations of the clothing, the hair. Everything flows quite organically and realistically, and I'm a big fan of the game. I actually enjoy it quite a lot. The biggest problem I find with the game is people you play with online. You spend more time being attacked by your own people than you do from the enemy, so you can actually get killed quite quickly due to the fact your own team are just bashing the button randomly to swipe you, and yet I ended up having to run out of battles simply because my own team was smacking the crap out of me from behind. Please, people, if you're going to play this game, I will beg you and plead with you, just stop being so trigger happy and try and control your blade when you're fighting with your comrades in battle, because when you swing a huge samurai sword or a hammer and somebody is in front of you, it doesn't matter whether they're on your side or not. Friendly fire is on, and it did my nut in playing this game, I must admit. But that rant aside, I still really enjoyed the game. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the final version. Now, as you can see, the PC version does have a few extra benefits, but the single biggest one is clearly the frame rate. Yes, this game does benefit greatly from 60 FPS, and it is a shame that all console versions, including the Pro, don't have that option. This is obviously nothing new in the PC landscape, and it is one of the common gaps you see in console releases, but this title does benefit from 60 FPS, so most likely I'm guessing this is a CPU bound limit on both consoles rather than a GPU issue here, due to the fact it's nearly at the maximum levels. And that includes the anti-aliasing and the motion blur, which is both radial and per object, and of a reasonably good sample rate, although like many things it is dithered, including the filter when things become too close to the frustum camera, they filter through, which I covered in the alpha on the PS4. The use of the engine here is very impressive. You've got physically based materials with great diffuse and specular tones in the game, bolstered further by an accomplished use of light and dark in the game, including the rain effects, which do work very well. It uses screen space reflection and cube maps with which to reflect the world and scenery, but by and large it's cube maps that are used abundantly. The fluid animation and visceral action all combine to pull off great satisfying moves, specifically well-timed block and defense moves that then flip into an execution as you take their head clean off. Unless of course you're the one on the receiving end and they just got plain lucky. But the game is enjoyable and it is fun, aside some of the issues I had in the beta, like I say, with some of the players just basically spamming the buttons, and that caused me to die a few times when I didn't really need to because my own team were hitting me. So in terms of pixel count, we've already covered the Xbox One. We know that the PC can go all the way up to 4K, but you need decent hardware to do that, and the PS4 Pro boosts the 1080p that the PS4 runs at up to a native 2560 by 1440. I haven't done enough counts, but I don't find any point on the PS4 where it runs a adaptive resolution. It may run a dynamic solution, and the PS4 Pro may also as well, and push up from 1440. I only did like 3 or 4 counts in the game, but we'll cover that in the final release. It's very attractive and very good looking on each, and the performance, again, it's a pretty strong point. It does run an adaptive VSync, allowing it to tear at certain points in the game, or at least turn off the VSync when it runs under budget. Therefore you get a few torn frames, but nothing lower than about 27 on the Xbox One and 29 or 28 on the Pro. The console versions do tend to tear ever so slightly more often when things are starting and loading. This is where you really see any dips at all, and this again points to the fact that it's a streaming I/O issue from the CPU. Outside of this, it's pretty locked in battle online, whether you play with multiple people or not, or whether you play just a one-on-one. It seemingly holds, other than a few rare sections, a locked 30, and there's no issues in performance at all that I covered, and I played it quite a lot in the alpha and the beta, so there's no issues here from my side. But again, the PC version is the place to go if you've got the hardware, because that 60 FPS does actually improve the refresh rate along with the input latency, which makes it a little better to play. And with a game like this, with the input latency and the attack, with some of the characters being very slow and heavy, it can actually make the difference between getting a strike in and missing it and being attacked. You do adapt to this when you move from PC to console, but it takes a little bit of time, and therefore you can actually be just as good on console at 30 FPS, but it is easier and more efficient to do it at 60. So again, it is a shame, but I won't harp on it too much. It is a game that benefits from it, but that's not to say that once you've played it for a few minutes, it's smooth as silk and really looks and sounds good to play. I'm not going to bore you too much with more talking. You can watch a few more minutes of footage and frame rate analysis. And of course, the game launches next week, so if there is enough interest and people want to see me cover the game in total in the final release, then please leave all your thoughts. I'm not going to return to this game unless, of course, there is enough interest for me to spend the money and buy all the copies. Remember, I'm completely self-funded, completely independent, therefore everything I get, by and large, is from my own fair wallet. Anyway, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Leave all your thoughts and feedback below. Please share where appropriate, as that helps support me and the channel. So you can help by sharing and talking about this and all of the content that I've covered if you find it appropriate. I'll catch you guys and girls on the next one.
Lost Zone C. You captured Zone C.